Welcome to Dance to Heal. I'm your host, Jenny C. Cohen. Join me as I share stories of how dance and movement can bring healing in a way that is safe and tailored to your life. I'm a cancer survivor, mother of two, and an award-winning performer who found that movement was vital to my recovery. I created Dance to Heal Wellness and also authored the best-selling book, Outside of Recovery, Dancing My Way Back to Myself After Breast Cancer. I will bring new techniques to help you on your dance journey and healing path. Are you ready to move? Dance to Heal starts now. Welcome, Shiraz. I am so blessed and honored that you are here today.
Oh, I'm blessed and honored to be here.
So, my audience members who are both audio and visual, okay? If you're not on YouTube, you got to come back and just see this amazing human being. Now, I have had the pleasure of actually being in sessions with Shiraz. And, the introduction, which you can go and read in the descriptor later, because he's got many, many accolades. You have so many accolades. And what I really want to focus on today is the fact that you get results for people and you are a reality interventionist. Will you help
Mhm.
us understand what that means?
I hope so. So, an interventionist it's kind of like if you've heard of people doing an intervention, someone's been doing drugs and the family stops and says, look, you need to stop this. It's hurting you. It's hurting the people around you. I do that with you around your reality. So the reality you've created where there's so much lack or so much struggle or even so much illness, well, that's hurting you and possibly the people around you, and we need to get you out of it. And it's because I've found out that people are actually addicted to their current reality, and you don't realize it. And when you try to get out of it, it's like trying to get out of a drug addiction. You will go into withdrawal. And if anyone's ever had the experience, like I went through this workshop or I went on a retreat and everything changed for a few weeks or a few months, and then it just ended up being back where I started. That wasn't that the thing you did didn't work. It's that you went into withdrawal afterwards and got back into your addiction. So that's what I help you with is to stay out of the addiction, get addicted to a better life, more success, more money, better relationships, better health, all the fun stuff.
Oh, I really like the way you explain that. I just did a whole weekend of training on the Embody Lab with Gabor Mate, and he was talking about how, uh, having addiction, and I say quotation marks, like in trouble with the TEDx board that I volunteer at. We don't like quotation marks, I was told. Having an addiction to anything is always being told, well, you had a choice. You have a choice. And it really isn't a choice thing. It's a soothing technique for something that hurt. Right.
Yeah.
And so I love that. And the thing is though, right, because I'm, in case people didn't know, I'm Asian and we're all about the work hard to earn
Ugh.
success, right? And I love that you don't have us work hard, do you, Shiraz? Like,
Yeah.
mm-mm. Please explain to us, everyone. And he said this to me before, but I still love hearing it because my brain needs that little bit of a brush up. Why isn't it hard?
Uh, It can be hard. It doesn't have to be hard, right? And we get taught you have to work hard to succeed because there are people out there where it's just like, why am I not succeeding? I'm like, you played video games for 8 hours yesterday. You're like, this is why you're not succeeding, right? Do some work for a change. However, it's not that you have to work hard to succeed. You have to be willing to work hard to succeed. And there's a big difference between being willing to and having to. And once you make that distinction and look at that from the right way, it can be a game changer. For instance, there are days where I work hard, where I put in 12 hours. And it feels great at the end of the day. I'm like done. I got so much accomplished. This is wonderful. And there are days where I'm sitting on my butt watching Netflix with a bag of Doritos, and there is money dropping into my bank account. And I'm like, this is great too. I will take this. This is fine. And so once I got that, it's like I used to have work hard to succeed, but not from this is what my parents taught me, and I've got to work hard or there will be no success. I was doing it more from an ego place of I will outwork you any day of the week. You put in 5 hours, I'll put in seven. You think you can outwork me? No, it's not going to happen. And I would pull all-nighters. I would find ways to just pile that work on and I would get a fix. This is where my fix came out. I finished working really hard and I get a hit of dopamine going, look what I did. Whew, look how good I am. Yes. And so I hit it and hit it and hit it and hit it. And yes, it caused success in my business. But slowly I am burning out. Just like I'm working harder than everyone. Oh my God, this is okay. So once I realized that that was just an addiction, me being addicted to look how proud I am to work so hard, I thought, what if we try a different addiction? What if I say, I'll get a fix every time I decide I want to do something, and it turns out to be really easy, or it turns out I don't have to be the one to do it. And once I made that decision, those opportunities started to show up in my life. And doing the work I do, I know those opportunities were always there, but I was refusing to see them because if I saw them, it would be a shortcut. I wouldn't get my fix. I'd be unhappy. Now I started to see them and I started to take advantage of them. So I remember one time was my friend Catherine called me up. We had just got assigned to, not assigned, but we were going to an event down in Dallas, and the hotel they were holding it was expensive, really expensive. So we were looking for, okay, we need a cheaper hotel nearby or some other accommodations, maybe share an Airbnb with people, whatever it is. And I was saying, well, we need to do this. I didn't actually get around to it yet. I was just like, yeah, this needs to be done. And then she calls me up and she goes, I was doing a lot of research and I found a place that has coupon codes for the hotel we're at, so we can get it for half price. I'm like, oh, that sounds good. And if you and I share rooms, we'll get two queens, then we can now pay half price. And I'm like, that is amazing. That is reasonable. Let's do that. And she's like, cool. I just needed your okay. I'm like, it's all good. And she's about to hang up and she goes, wait a second. I did all the work. I found the discounts. You're just saying yes to the opportunity. That's how you do your whole life, isn't it? I'm like, yeah, that's kind of how I do my whole life now.
Well, I mean, well, yes and no, because she gets a built-in, really laid-back, cool person like yourself versus, a crapshoot of a roommate. Personally, because that makes a difference for me who I stay
It
with,
does. Yeah.
right? So that's her payoff. So sorry, friend. I
Yes. I
understand.
mean,
I
it's
see your
not,
point. I see your point.
yeah. She doesn't have a bad life. I'm just saying that with my life, it's gotten so much easier. And every time something like that happens, I anchor it into my body. It's like, see, there it is. So I make sure I get that hit of dopamine. So that my body starts to crave everything being easy.
Ooh, I love that. So
Yeah.
we're gonna address something though regarding because I'm gonna draw on my personal experience working with you because you
Mhm.
used to really catch my phrasing of my words about, oh, it has
Mhm.
to be hard. I need to do this or I have to do this. And you
Yeah.
would shift that type of reinforcement about how hard I had to work.
Yeah.
Will you explain to my wonderful audience about, when you do a session with someone and you help us release energy, has us connected to language, what could someone who, before they take advantage of your gift, by the way, if you go to description, folks, get your gift from Shiraz. Okay, that's really important. Come back to this episode and click on that. If you're listening in the car, don't stop or don't do this while you're driving. Come back and click that button. In the interim, what can we do on our own before we get in touch with you to begin to shift that
Mhm.
indoctrination we're not even aware of?
Okay. Any consistent problem in your life is an addiction. And it's created because it was the solution, or still is the solution to an emotional problem you're not looking at. So, as an example, let's say you want to make more money. Okay. And most of the times I ask people, do you want to make more money? And they say yes. It's very rare someone says, no, I'm good. I got enough money. Right. So then my next question is, would you be okay if you make an extra $100,000 each year? And of course, they're going to say yes. Now, when I talk to people, I have this skill where I can tell when your conscious beliefs match your unconscious beliefs. So whenever they don't, I'm going to let you know. So when I ask people, would you like to make an extra $100,000 a year? Most people, while they say yes, it's actually a no. Right. And they don't know it's a no. It's like it seems obvious. An extra $100,000. I'm like, okay, what would you do with that? It's, well, I'll pay off all my bills and I can afford to go traveling now and I can take care of my family or all these like wonderful things. And we keep going. And eventually we get to what's it going to be like? What's your life going to look like? How are people going to interact with you? And then they start going, what if what if they just want to hang out with me because of my money? Right? What if they keep asking for money because they know I have it? Right? And what if having money changes me into something I don't like, someone I don't like to be? And so these negative possibilities start coming up. And that's what your subconscious is processing all the time. Sure, these wonderful, positive things feel wonderful, but its job isn't to give you good feelings as much as it is to protect you from bad feelings. So if you're worried that if you make lots of money, people are just going to be like, Jenny, can I have some money, please? Can you invest in my business? Can you give to my charity? Jenny, please take care of me because you can afford to. I don't want to have to work. You take care of me. And like, you know what? The whole family, you got to take care of the whole family now, Jenny. And now, if those possibilities cause emotional reaction in you, then your mind is already on board saying, don't worry. I'm going to make sure that never happens. Every time you try to make more money, I will sabotage you and bring you right back down to where it's comfortable. And so then you get stuck in that. But then what else happens is you're now in this addiction, and the addiction comes from seeing other people that have money get, not attacked, but bothered by other people. It's like you watch people with, hey, can you give me some money? I'm like, see, look at that. That's what happens. And every time you can say, ooh, that's what happens, you get your dopamine fix. Right? Right? If you see a rich person that's now a horrible person, you're afraid of becoming a horrible person. Oh, there it is again. You get your dopamine fix. And you'll get fix after fix after fix from all the things you're watching, even though there may be more of the opposite happening, but you're not seeing them because they don't justify your beliefs and they won't give you your fix. And so you're unconsciously trapped and physically addicted. Now, to get out of it, you want to ask, well, what is the benefit that I'm not seeing? Right? Is it the benefit that people won't come up and ask me for money? That's a benefit. Oh my God. So let me work on that rather than physically trying to make money, because this is always an emotional game. So if people come up to ask me for money, I'm not going to feel pressured. I'm not going to feel guilted. I'll be like, no, you're not going to get it. Right. And there may be cases where it's like, that sounds wonderful. Yes, I will give you the money. But you're always in choice now. And when you're in choice without guilt or pressure, you have freedom. And that's what'll break the addiction for
Oh, that should be a hashtag.
you.
When you have
The whole thing.
freedom. Yeah, when you have freedom, that breaks your addiction. That's
Yeah.
a long hashtag. However, that could be a quote in the FAQ. Because I think a lot of times people, the ACE scores, the ACE scores,
Mhm.
Gabor had shared that with participants during his workshop. And it was just 10 questions about events that happened to you before 18. And if you scored four and above, you were more likely to be at risk for an addiction. And they're asking
Oh.
questions about, like, if your parents fought bitterly, like where there was this nasty language, that
Mhm.
was like a poor family type of situation, or, trigger warning family, family, my family audience, or if there was any type of SA as a child, that was a point type of thing. So
Mhm.
that's really interesting to have you speaking on this. Um, yeah, okay, so I love this. Make a list of all the things that are going wrong for you
Yeah.
in your
That are consistently going wrong. Happens every time. If you use phrases like this always happens, story of my life, every time I blank, blank happens, those are all addictions.
Hmm.
Yeah.
What's some homework that you usually give a client? Because folks in sessions with you, Shiraz, my audience
Mhm.
members, there's actual work being done, and so we're not going to talk about that right now. You got to book a call with him. However, after they work with you, what are some homework that you would assign somebody, or there's no homework because you're that cool?
So, well, thanks for the cool part. Is just to start living your life from this point of view of the question. If things go wrong, why did I want that to happen? Why is this happening in my life? Like, what is the benefit I'm not seeing? And when you see it, when it comes into your mind, it's like, oh, it's this. You can just say, well, I'm stepping out of that story. Because when I work with people, I don't do some magical thing where I suddenly remove this out of your body or out of your mind. I guide you to the thing that you need to change. And then it's on you to say, oh, I'm changing that. And the phrase we usually use is, I'm stepping out of that story. It's always a story you've created, some internal narrative. I'm like, are you willing to step out of that story? If you say yes and you mean it, boom, shifts right then. It's your decision. You're done.
I love that. I love that empowerment right there. Audience member, if you're listening or watching this right now, I hope you heard what Shiraz just said because that's priceless. That you can't pay for anywhere. Will you repeat that again? I want them to hear it again.
So when you ask the question of what's the benefit here? What am I getting out of this I don't see? Then that's when the answer can show up in your life. And it's always going to be a story about your life. And you can just say, I'm stepping out of that story. And here's the thing, over 90% of that is probably stuff you learned in childhood. That's just what my parents always say. That's what my teacher always used to tell me. That's what the kids said on the playground. And all that stuff, usually between the ages of 1 and 8, is running your adult life. And stories you can just say, I'm done, stepping out.
I love that. I'm like, well, what is it when I'm is it I'm tagging out or I'm like, I'm what is it? I'm tapping out. I'm tapping out of the storyline, right?
Out. Out.
Yeah, yeah. For me, lately, it's been the shift that I wasn't allowed to have a morning of self-care that was longer than 20 minutes.
Ooh,
I know. And
okay.
so when I shifted out of it, because, folks, I mean, Shiraz has been a great influence in my life. So then I was like, well, who says I can't have like a bath in the morning? I'm going to take my bath in the morning. If I stay at a hotel, I'm going to have a bathtub and I'm going to do a bath before I go into my event. I
The nice sunken tubs at hotels. Oh my God, I love that.
know.
Yeah.
Right? Right? Or even, well, I don't want to carry the Epsom salt. So why can't I just order Amazon or Whole Foods to my hotel and get my Epsom
Yep.
salt? Like,
Epsom salt's going. That's it.
right? Because it's like
Yep.
the wonder of the possibility when we silence the story playing in the background that we're not even aware of, right? That's what happens. The possibilities open up. I
Yep.
do want to, address folks that are listening, some of you, right? I say these things and you're like, well, I don't have the money to stay at a hotel. That's the story you live in. Or, I don't have the money to buy something from Whole Foods, right? Think about why you're hearing this right now. Like, why is this particular episode coming into your ears?
Mhm.
Sit with that for a second and make sure you go to the gift from Shiraz that's in the descriptor because some of these things that he's allowing you to come to, they're free. So you have no excuse. Like you should be taking advantage of it, right? Could you
Yep.
tell them there's one particular story that you've told often and I really would like my audience members to hear about it if you wouldn't mind.
Sure. So once upon a time, there were three pigs, uh, and they built houses of brick, straw, and wood. Is that the story?
No.
Oh,
It was a story of addiction.
okay.
I'm gonna type in the chat so people don't know because folks, I'm springing this on Shiraz
Is
because
this,
he's like,
is
"What
this about the
story?"
border? Is this about the borders?
Mm-hmm.
Crossing the border.
Yeah,
Okay, we'll
because
talk
this
about
one was
crossing.
so powerful. I told my family, and we talk about it all the time. All right,
Oh,
because
really?
No, because
Okay.
I present as an Asian person, and my kids are a mix, and so we talk about this all the time about that reality shifting for us.
Okay. So the story that Jenny's talking about is when I was 20 years old, I started traveling the world. And I came back from Rio with a bunch of my friends. We'd gone down there to visit a mutual friend. And after we got through customs, I got stopped by customs agents, which I thought was weird. We already did this. And he said, we need to ask you a few more questions. And I said, oh, okay. And so I yelled to my friends, it's like, hey guys, they need to ask us more questions. And he goes, no, 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 not them, just you. And all my friends were white and I'm black. So I'm like, oh, I know what's happening here. And after that, every time I crossed the border, I would get stopped. I would either get asked extra questions or I would get my luggage searched. I would get my person searched. I live in Canada. I do a lot of stuff in the US. If I drove across the border, I sometimes got my car searched. So, yeah, I got delayed. I got frustrated. And I knew this is because I'm black. And every time it happened, it lowered my ambitions just a little bit because this is what I have to go through as a black man. These are the difficulties I'm going to have to face. These are the hurdles I'm going to have to overcome. I shouldn't strive to go too high because as a black man, there's always going to be this stuff here to pull me back down. And I didn't realize consciously that was going on. So after 10 years of this, it actually went on for like 30 years, I think. Um, the the level of ambition had gone down so much that when I say I'm trying to go from a 5 to a 10, that 10 now would have been a 6 when I first started out. But this 10 would be unachievable. So let's go for a 6 and call it a 10. And the worst one was actually when I went to Rio. I had finally crossed the border without getting asked any questions. And I thought, oh my God, things are looking up. And then I'm standing in the middle of town in Madrid, and an undercover officer comes up and says, show me your passport. I'm like, oh, okay. And I showed him my passport. And he looks at it and he says, you don't have a visa. You need a visa to be in this country. And I said, no, I'm Canadian. Canadians don't need visas to be in Spain. He said, no, you need a visa. Come with me. And he takes me and he throws me in a paddy wagon. Never seen a paddy wagon before in real life. And now I'm looking at one from the inside. And he starts driving me around town. And then he throws another black guy in there, and another black guy in there, and another black guy in there. I'm like, okay, so this is happening. And eventually there are 10 of us, all black, in this vehicle. We get taken to jail. There we get processed where they're going through our personal effects. And then comes the strip search and the anal cavity search. So I'm in line watching each person go through this. And I can see from the looks on the guards' faces, they're having a great time. They just want to humiliate us. They want to put us in our place, show us who's in charge. None of this is necessary. It's just their fun. And so as I'm getting closer and closer, my anxiety is building up because I'm watching each person get embarrassed. I see a couple of the guys are struggling. They don't want to go through this, and the guards are ready to just beat down on them because that's what they want to do. They need an excuse. And so finally, it's my turn. And I get there, I undress, and I was so frazzled. A couple of things just didn't click for me. And number one was I was in the best shape of my life. I was a bodybuilder. And number two was we were in viewing distance of the holding cell with the working girls. So when my clothes came off, that cell just erupted. It's like, woo, baby. Yeah, I love what I'm seeing. And I'm like, oh, I get a cheering squad. They didn't get a cheering squad. This is not so bad. And so that part wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. But then we spent the night on a concrete floor because there was like no beds in the cell. It's just a cell with concrete floor. And then the next day, I got the hell out of that country. It's like, nope, not going back there anymore. And it wasn't until I got home and I was talking to one of my coaches that he said, Shiraz, are you ready to step out of the story? And I got pissed because I know what I just explained stories to you guys. And I'm like, this is not a story. This is racism, right? This is a real thing that's going on. He said, yes. Racism's something that's real. Racism is bad. We should get rid of it. What, what you're talking about is a story. I'm like, how is it a story? There's no upside. There's no benefit. All right. I get delayed. I get frustrated. I'm losing money. And he said, Shiraz, when you tell your border crossing stories to people, you light up. You feed off people's emotional reactions to your stories of struggle. It feels like love. And your mind thinks that if I stop struggling, I'm not going to get that love anymore. So it has to keep creating struggles. And in your case, keep getting stopped at borders over and over and over again. If this were racism consistently, you wouldn't get jobs because you're Black. You get pulled over in traffic because you're Black. There's all these things that happen to Black people on a regular basis, and none of that happens to you. You only get stopped at borders. And I'm like, oh my God, he's right. And when I made the decision that I can get love for my success, excuse me, there are people actually shifting, hearing the story. That's I react to energetic shifts when,
Yep.
by yawning and coughing.
Yep.
And so, yeah, uh, if I can get love for my success, if I hang out with people that are successful, that will cheer me on for success, and I will cheer them on for their success, that's a whole different reality. And I still get love. And I made that decision, and that was the last time I ever got stopped at a border. Just went away.
I always get so emotional with this story
Mhm.
because it's like, audience, you understand that you're shackling yourself into situations like that, and your freedom is just within your grasp if you would just allow yourself to step out of that story. It's
Yeah.
just,
And you have to look at your story. Is it, I can't do this or I can't get as far as I want to because I'm Black, because I'm Asian, because I'm a woman, because I'm this age, because I'm this weight, because I come from this background? If you're saying those over and over again, if that's your excuse over and over again, that's an addiction. And especially if people are giving you feedback on that, it's like, oh my God, we see you trying so hard. You just keep it up. We're here for you. And that's, oh, that feels like love. And as long as I keep staying in the situation, keep struggling, I'm going to keep getting that love. And again, your mind does not care about your physical situation. It's all about the emotions. Love fix. Yes, let's keep going, getting that love fix over and over and over again.
ugh,
Time to step out of that story.
tap out, okay?
Tap out, tap
Tap
out. Jenny
out.
likes tap out.
I don't know why I'm fixated. Hashtag tap out. And
Okay.
I do want to assure you, when you're watching the YouTube episode and you have any questions for Shiraz and you put it in the comments, we will come back and answer them because I know there are audience members who may feel shy at first and may not necessarily book a call with you at first, right? And they may just
Sure.
ask a question and we will answer it for you. The
Mhm.
reason why I was so glad you wanted to come on this podcast, this message needs to be out there way more, you know? We're currently airing on apps that are burner phones in India and Dubai.
Oh,
And so if
wow.
you're one of those audience members, you were meant to hear this. You were meant to know that you have the power. You have the power. It's in your decision to let go of the story, you know? And Shiraz and I are here for you. Okay, no matter where you are. I even have listeners in New Zealand.
Oof.
Hello, New Zealand. All right,
No.
so one more last pointer before I let you go. I've been told by my
Okay.
editor I'm not allowed to go too long, even though I could have you here for another 3 hours. So I guess you're gonna have to come back. What's
Okay.
one thing you would want to leave with my amazing audience?
Ice cream.
Yeah.
That doesn't travel well over the internet.
Mm.
Let's see. I would like to leave the audience with the thought about being the happiest person in the room. So most times, if you're really happy, people think there's something wrong with you. It's treated like an illness. Like, are you on drugs? What is going on with you? If you're willing to be the happiest person in the room, you set the standard that everyone else can come up to. You raise the happiness in the room. So be goofy, have fun, stay happy, be the happiest person in the room. And you'll find that more and more people around you start to just say, oh, I'm with this person. I get to be happier. Let's do this. it makes for a much better life.
Oh, thank you. I love that. And I'm going to give you another reminder, my wonderful audience. We went through a figurative Thanos snap because you survived the panini. We're all survivors. It's a privilege to wake up every morning and get a new start. And I
Mhm.
thank you so much for being here, Shiraz. Audience, we'll see you next time. Bye bye.
Well,
Thanks for listening to Dance to Heal with Jenny C. Cohen. Come back next time to hear stories of recovery through movement and learn more ways that you can move your body. To work with me and continue your journey, visit OutsideInRecovery.com. Are you ready to move?